everyone, welcome to Millennium Live. My name is Katie Perry, and today I am joined by Venky Shankar, who is the Coleman Chair Professor in Marketing and the Director of Research at the Center for Retailing Studies at Texas A&M University. Thank you so much for being here today, Venky.
Thank you, Katie, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad you were able to join us virtually. So you have quite a wonderful career with many accolades and accomplishments. Thomson Reuters actually named you one of the world's most influential scientific minds, and you have been named one of the top 10 scholars worldwide on innovation. So first off, that's huge. And you have many, many other awards. So can you give us a brief overview of your career and your journey thus far?
First of all, thank you. You're kind. And I'm really blessed because all these awards as a recognition of not just my efforts by my co-authors and doctoral students, research assistants, and anybody that I've worked with, collaborated with, interacted with, companies that I've worked with, all of them share some of the recognition. And it has been a blessing and a blast of a journey for me because once you decide to become an academic and researcher and scholar, what happens is you really roll up your sleeves and dive deep into the problems that really excite you and of importance to the society, the companies. And once you start diving deeper and deeper, it becomes really almost infectious that you have to keep doing this to keep going. And I'm like a kid in the candy store. So the more I get, the more I love to do this work. And so I've been very fortunate doing this. I started out with my PhD at Kellogg Graduate School of Management. It was a very valuable journey from there on. And I started working on problems that companies face in terms of whether they want to launch a product initially or to wait after some movers have already gone in. This is the classic problem of pioneering, a first mover advantage or disadvantage. And I came up with the idea of late mover advantage. And my idea was to look at the instances, so many instances. Only a few companies can be a pioneer in a market, Katie. Most of the brands end up being late entrants. So in many cases, they are successful. They beat the odds, they beat the pioneers. And so I wanted to study them very deeply. And what I found was innovation was a great way to beat the pioneers of their own game. And that's how my journey in innovation started. And today I'm very blessed to have worked with over 150 co-authors. I couldn't even believe that I've worked with so many of them. But it is truly a learning experience for me as I go along. And I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. Most of the time when I started, the internet was just opening up. You had Amazon just started. E-commerce was growing. So I ventured into e-commerce as a topic of research. And that was very fascinating to learn more. Then I went into omni-channel. Today, I do a lot of work on mobile marketing. All of these couldn't have been possible because of that. Today, I'm pivoting towards machine learning, AI, and their role in business and marketing. So really a very happy journey, and it's a continuing journey.
That's great. Well, again, we're so happy to have you here. And I just want to talk briefly about a few different things. I know that digital marketing is one of your specialties, and being 2020, the world has gone very virtual this year. So how has the digital marketing landscape evolved in 2020? And what do you think we will see in the coming months once we're going into 2021?
Digital marketing is dramatically transformed in the landscape, and so many companies are very, very furiously into digital transformation. Many companies were slow to adopt and adapt to the internet and the digital activities. Over the COVID has accelerated that. You know, it's disrupted a lot of industries. And for example, in retailing, where I do a lot of work, it has transformed how we shop, right? We now are sitting in the comfort of our homes and clicking all mobile devices and ordering and picking up the orders on in store sometimes, or getting it delivered. All of these were just growing incrementally the last few years, but then the COVID has dramatically shifted that. And not only that from a customer standpoint of view, but the entire end-to-end digital activities in the organization has becoming more and more digitized. we've got so many industries that are being reshaped. Healthcare is one of them. Now we've got telemedicine that is accelerated and accepted now. We've got education now. We're doing a lot of online learning. We have work from home. 250 million people worldwide have shifted to working from home during this pandemic. And it is going to stay mostly that way till we get a final resolution to the COVID problem. And also people used to the convenience of shopping from home are not going to go back. So looking ahead, the next 1 year, we're going to have the COVID vaccine distribution. Hopefully it's effective and it reaches all the people. Even then, people would not shift their buying habits. Now they're used to the comfort and convenience. At the end of the day, convenience is king, and it's being borne out in how consumers make their decisions. And with proliferation of all devices digital, this has only accelerated that. So what we are going to see, increasingly digital occupying a very dominant portion, and we know that e-commerce is expected to increase by 1/3 this year alone from previous year. And thanks to the opportunities and challenges offered by multiple channels, now we have consumers can buy, search, using multiple mobile devices, tablets, wearables, smart speakers, and so many opportunities are available for interfacing digitally. And that is going to really speed up a lot of digital activities. Plus, world over, lots of innovations are happening that is making a lot of activities digitizable. For example, a lot of paper records are being digitized. The last bastion like real estate, banking, they're all fast coming under the digital fold. So you will see tremendous surge in digital, not just marketing, but digital transformation.
Right. You mentioned e-commerce and how it has completely shifted and it's going to continue to become even more important. So what do you think this means for the small businesses and brick and mortars?
E-commerce is a game changer, as you know. It's been around from mid-90s, but this is when the really tipping point. So as I said before, the COVID has accelerated, and we have now used to grocery, which was the last bastion of consumer products, to fall for e-commerce. Now, almost all the grocery retailers, name the big grocery retailers, Walmart, Target, Kroger, Albertsons, Safeway, all of them have gotten onto the idea that now we have to be very, very sensitive to e-commerce orders. And e-commerce is now becoming the default, right? If you don't have e-commerce, then you may be out of business, right? So a lot of companies like department stores, clothing, apparel retailers, they've had a very rough time with COVID, having to close down brick and mortar stores. America was overstored in general, but the pace at which the brick and mortar store closure was happening was already very high. And e-commerce actually pushed those store closure from the edge of the cliff down. So this year alone, we are expecting, Katie, 25,000 brick and mortar stores to be closed. And last year there was 9,000. And so the rate at which is going, more and more companies are going omni-channel, more retailers are trying to figure out, how do I market through multiple channels, touch points, delivery mechanisms, and interact 24/7 with the customer, right? Now we are looking at a 360-degree seamless shopping. That's what customer is, wanting, demanding, being used to. And so many of these brick and mortar channels are getting transformed. Look at the malls. The malls are getting completely repurposed, right? The anchor tenants like department stores are not going to be viable anymore, occupying those big spaces, because people are not going to come and shop in droves as they used to before in the past. So as a result, they are repurposing their spaces. Now they are allowing for micro fulfillment centers in those malls, which means that we now won't see a lot of rush to the brick and mortar stores anymore. But don't get me wrong, people will still go and want to touch and feel and have that experience, social experience. Once the COVID vaccine is distributed and people can move about more safely, it'll still come back, but may not be to the same extent as we used to see before now, because now people can shop the convenience of electronic and digital anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
Right. So, no matter what industry or sector anyone is really in, likely almost every single business shared a response to COVID-19. So, throughout the past 10 months in 2020, have you seen any change in crisis management or a plan for crisis management in 2021?
Great question. A lot of companies were caught flat-footed because they didn't anticipate COVID. They didn't anticipate its ramifications and didn't really even imagine what kind of transformation they have to do. So there aren't a lot of great stories of crisis management to tell, but nevertheless, a lot of companies started putting the health and welfare of their employees first, which is the right thing to do, and making sure the customer's business is protected as much as possible. And that's why digital transformation was very important. But having done that, if you take the example of Amazon, for example, Amazon was already an 800-pound gorilla in consumer marketing, e-commerce, retailing, and plus a whole other host of businesses. But Amazon doubled up on this, right? Because now they are the go-to company, and they had to fulfill orders and make sure the employees are safe in warehouses and in the physical stores that they had presence in. And so one of the things is that they started recruiting people for delivery and other fulfillment activities. About 100,000 workers were hired anywhere in the last couple of months. And Amazon is now poised to become the second largest employer after Walmart, about 1.2 million people. And they've grown very dramatically in the last year or two. And all this growth has to come with a lot of crisis management, making sure everybody's safe. In fact, what I read today was Amazon has had a payout of about $500 million just for the employees for this period because they had to endure all these difficulties. So, there are other companies are doing their best, but it's very difficult for the companies to anticipate what is coming. I call this management as VUCA, right? VUCA is an acronym standing for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, right? So this is VUCA and steroids, right? Because if you have a pandemic like this, everything is happening all at once, and you just cannot move that so fast, right? Because you have to not only plan, you have to execute cautiously, and you have to keep in mind the post-COVID future, right? Are you gearing up for that? The tech companies recognize this early on. Not only they cashed in on some of their needs, but they also instructed the employees that they can work out of home, and they could afford to do that. But the biggest casualty was small businesses, and you mentioned that. And small businesses are the backbone of the American economy, and we have about 31 million small businesses, Katie, that are really very vital to the economy. And 160,000 of the businesses had to close down due to pandemic. These are restaurants, small owners, small shops, small service organizations, and about half of them, or 60% of them, may not reopen again because that's how badly they were affected. Of course, the CARES Act did provide some relief to some of them, but the way to manage to get out of this crisis, Katie, is to somehow have a long-term plan, which is not only the current plan, the future plan. That's what crisis management is all about. And have a playbook by which you can execute slowly, learn, and then be very agile and nimble and respond very quickly. And that is the key to success in this VUCA, mega VUCA environment.
Well, I happen to know that you're writing a book on AI in business. So
Right.
Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, it is a long journey. Again, writing a book takes a long time in any case, but AI and machine learning, which are transforming our lives, are happening too quickly, and too many changes are happening. So one of the challenges for me is to write a book that gives a sufficient overview of what is happening and what's likely to happen and how to prepare for those challenges, particularly for firms in all spheres and sectors. But the preview of what I'm looking at is how AI is reshaping all our thinking, starting from how consumers think, how consumers shop, how consumers interact, how consumers do their shopping, how firms can respond to that, how it is affecting the supply chain, how it is impacting human resource management, what will be the future looking like, right? And even as we speak, there's tremendous developments that are happening. For example, today we just learned that AI has solved a 50-year-old computer science problems relating to medicine, and that is the protein folding. DeepMind, which is a unit of Google, has managed to come up with an algorithm that can predict protein folding in a matter of days, which used to take years. And that is a precursor for us getting better healthcare, better treatment, better drugs, and so on. So that's just in the healthcare space alone. But if you think about AI's impact in other spheres, even today, as I was putting together some chapters in the book, I just heard that Facebook is acquiring a company called Customer, which actually specializes in chatbots and in customer interactions electronically. We're looking at a society where AI is going to make a tremendous difference in life that we are having. If you look at different industries, transportation industry won't be the same as before. We'll have self-driving cars, which may become a ubiquity by 2030. By 2031, half of retail jobs may be redefined, and trucking industry, that will also be redefined. Healthcare, I talked about, learning, banking, all of these will be tremendously impacted by AI. And so as I'm writing this, I'm trying to give a realistic picture, but at the same time also give some guidelines as to how firms can approach it and plan for it and be successful. I also want to strip away all the hypes, because there's a lot of hype about, artificial general intelligence. People are worried about whether AI will surpass or supplant human beings. Without really getting into the hypes, get into the realities, and then offer a book which will be useful for all readers, corporations, executives, students, general consumers, public policy officials. All of them should find it very useful. But thanks for asking me about it.
Of course, I would love to read it once it's out. So you had the opportunity to join us at our virtual transformational CMO assembly a few weeks ago, and you moderated a session on digital marketing and retail innovation. Do you think there's a silver lining for marketers and retailers that they can take away from this year?
Thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to moderate. It was a fascinating discussion because we had some very exciting participants who had firsthand knowledge of what they are going through right now. And this is unprecedented because during this time, Katie, people have real experiences and they can share that. And one of the pivot that we are seeing, as we saw, is a digital transformation in retailing and marketing tremendously. So we are going to be marketing enabled, digital enabled, digital assisted, digital disrupted. And the silver lining for all the companies in marketing is that now they can really anticipate customer needs better and cater to them in multitude of ways. And digital technology and digital innovations are there to help them along the way. But that also means that they have to be very quick and very focused. The winners in this transformed phase will be those who are forward-looking, who are prescient, and also who are willing to make changes. A lot of companies have those, we talked about brick and mortar earlier on, lots of companies have legacies and baggages. So now we have to pivot. This is a great opportunity to reinvest in technology, learn the digital, and ride with the digital. And I think there are tremendous opportunities for the first initial set of companies that will make those moves. And I think the silver lining is there because not only will you cater to all kinds of customer needs, but also reduce costs, which is another very important for the business model of many of these companies. So these opportunities will not last long because most companies will start to really grab them. And once you grab and be successful, then you can ride on that and become better and better over a period of time. So I really do see this as an opportunity rather than a challenge. But firms will have to culturally embrace, so they have to redefine their purpose and make this worthwhile for all their employees to be in this new journey that they will be having to embark on.
Mm-hmm. So I just have one final question for you. And now that you have attended one of our virtual assemblies, why do you think executive education is important? And what did you take away from our assembly?
Yeah, executive education is more important than ever. Right now, the COVID-19 has exposed us to the fact that, we have to be lifelong learners. We already knew that lifelong learning is important, but right now the tremendous wealth of knowledge that we have to gain moving forward is very, very high. And a forum like the Millennium Alliance's summit or conference really helps bring right minds together at the right time, learn from the experiences, the wisdom, and the vision of a lot of leaders all at once, and share those and continuously build on that. So executive education is all about executives keeping their mind sharp and continuously improving that. And these kind of forums really offer the opportunity, unique opportunities. For example, during this, when people shared how they navigated the fact that store closures, how do they manage that? And that was very valuable for other retailers to understand what worked, what didn't work, and how did they make the transfer? What are the new normals, right? Those are the kind of things that we cannot do if you don't continuously learn through executive education online. And this has really given us impetus to everybody to be very, very high on not only being open to such learning, but also having more opportunities to avail of and use that opportunities to make improvements. And so I think opportunities like this will be coming more and more, and executives should be looking upon this as very valuable tools for them to upgrade themselves.
Well, great. And we hope that you'll be able to join us at one of our future assemblies, whether it's virtual or in person. But thank you so much for chatting with me today, Venky. And it was great having you here and at our assembly. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much, Katie. It was my pleasure. And thank you for interviewing me. And I'm looking forward to more interactions with you.
We are as well. It was nice talking to you.
Thank you, Katie.